Okay, let's take them in the last. So Business Center. Till last session, we have been talking primarily on the VIM solution, Vendor Invoice Management. In the overall Vendor Invoice Management, technically, there are two pieces of solution. One is called Business Center, which works on VIM Foundation, and there is the VIM solution as well. So in the VIM solution, we have been configuring, and primarily the VIM solution used for the business users and primary front end of the overall solution. And the Business Center, which is the first piece of the overall solution, or when the flow happens, this is all the technical flow of the document and how the document flows and what all the things are there. So the Business Center takes care of that. The primary objective of the Business Center is to ingest the document and push the document and do all the technical activities like extraction of the data, validation of the data, and pass that information to the VIM solution, where front ending of the solution VIM takes care. Okay, so that's what this slide talks about. I'll just quickly read the slide with the points. OpenText Business Center for SAP solutions enable receiving incoming documents, including capturing of relevant data fields, processing of the incoming documents inside SAP, and creating a new SAP business object or linking the document to an existing business object. Business process like processing of incoming sales order from customers or incoming and delivery notes from suppliers are also very good case for Business Center. As I said, the foundation also supports other that can also be achieved to the Business Center. The product provides one platform to automate business process triggered by incoming documents or events in the system that is tightly integrated into SAP solution type. The idea of the Business Center for the future of this product is basically you can use this product for any document ingestion and then use the OCR tool to extract that information and pass that information to create the SAP transactions, of course, the SAP transaction through this solution. Okay, Business Center can be connected with various inbound channels, be it paper, scan, fax, email, or IDOC. The incoming documents are stored using the SAP Archive Link. Okay, the SAP Archive Link is a standard protocol. Okay, it's an open source protocol which SAP also adopted, and OpenText also is adopting the same protocol of SAP Archive Link, and they are using this protocol to store your documents from SAP into a different archive server. So whether you want to use OpenText archive server or you want to use any other archive server, it's the customer decision. They have tight integration if it is a OpenText archive server. So there is no hard and fast rule that you have to only use the OpenText archive server, but you can also use any archive server as well if you want. Right? So that's the advantage of this SAP Archive Link. So the feature highlights. So this slide is basically from the archive server, and this archive server also part of your SAP suite of extended ECM. Okay, so the archive server is base for all the OpenText products, and VIM utilizes it, and they have an integration of that archive server to the extended ECM, and extended ECM can also be utilized to integrate with the VIM solution. So this is just talks about all those things and highlighting the feature highlights. And if you just observe, this is the point just trying to highlight the vendor invoice implementation. Okay, and the other advantages of archive server, I think initially I talked about. One is the data size. Your PDFs or any digital content, generally the file size is large. Even if you open any PDF, and an average size would be from 1 to 4 MB, right? Even 100 documents or 1000 documents come, it will come up to 1 GB. So SAP licensing depends on your SAP S/4HANA size of the database as well. If you put all the documents, then your database will grow drastically, and the licensing will be impact. So, but if you use archive server, then there will be no impact on the licensing part impact from the size provided by the document stored in the SAP. There can be other solutions which can be utilizing to store the documents that they call. Okay, but from the Vim perspective, they are utilizing this archive server to store all the documents, and there is a seamless integration by the foundation as well as Vim solution to retrieve the information as well as to display, store, and retrieve the information. Okay, and these are the business center high-level components technically. This is the overall solution. Either we call it as business capture center, business center. There will be here. So business capture center, or these are all the components. One is the first is the archive server or the archive center, where the actual physical storage of the documents happen in the system. That is this location. And this is the OpenText Business Center ORDM, which will be sitting on top of your SAP, which deals with all the ingestion and everything, the flow of the document. And it will be connected to your IC4S or BCC. Previously, it used to be called Business Capture Center. Now, this is the latest version is IES or IC4. All the three names really one and the same. There are different solutions trying to achieve the same solution. There will be a slide coming up with the differences between all these three solutions in later slides. Okay, and these three will be tightly integrated on doing all those things. And there will be the external ingestion mechanism, scanning, Fury app, and all those stuff as well.
Instead of archive center, OpenText Archive Center, can we use any other products, or is it product specific?
No, you can use any archive center. Yeah, there are a lot of other archive servers in the market. You can utilize it. Yeah, as long as they are using the same protocol of SAP Archive Link, that there is some protocol name, I cannot recollect. Something like OSPT, something, I cannot recall it, but they use that protocol. That's an standard agreed, used across the industries.
Okay, understood.
But when you buy Vim, your archive center comes as a part of your license. Whether you use this or not, your cost won't change.
Okay, good.
Except the installation and maintenance activities. Otherwise, product cost will not change from the licensing.
Okay.
Now, basically, this slide is trying to say what are all the different kinds of ingestions happen and how the business center is going to capture, process, and push the data into the S4 panel. Okay. Here you can do the business networks like any business network like Ariba is one provided by SAP. There are other business networks as well in the market who deal with similar functionalities of Ariba. So they can also be integrated EDI via EDI or iDocs or OData or XMLs or everything, paper-based, email, fax. So all this will be captured through the business center, process the data. In the process data, we will have the extraction of the data, and there may not be large enrichment of the data, but basic verification of the data may happen. Processing the data with respect to data definitions like country-specific translations and all happen, and that will be pushed into the S4 or the Vim solution here. Okay, so these are all the common patterns here. So just a slide which talks about and pushes the data into the process data. Okay, the same thing they are trying to put in a bigger picture. So SAP we have it, Business Center we have it, and then in between the whole process it is split into multiple things. One is import, capture, dispatch, process. So once if you go, this is what the inbound configuration does. Process foundation or process configuration, and the Fury app or business center front. This is the front ending of the BC business center. Okay, so inbound configuration, either it will be import of the documents or capturing the documents and dispatching into the process foundation. This process foundation is the one which is going to process the data, and after the process of the data, consuming either you can see the data in the business center place or Fury app. And then this will be pushed into the Vim solution. Okay, and it all part of the overall business center. Okay, so import electronic documents, email, PDF, or OpenText trading gate. There is another. This is a business network from the OpenText. Dispatch, assigning incoming documents to correct target process, classify the documents according to the document type. This is an archive doc type. They are talking about which archive doc type it should be assigned to, and it is storing the sending the document to archive server, generating a rec ID, archive ID, and then pushing that archive ID to the process foundation. So process workflows for documents or objects in a configurable workflow engine. Ensure that documents are right user at the right time. This is the standard definition. But yes, Business Center will also have a workflow number to do the overall SAP workflow engine at the base, and it is using the same workflow engine. Consuming, yes, business objects in the Business Center workplace in different working queues, whether you want to push it into a VIM solution or you want to send it to a foundation of a different solution like inbound deliveries or any sales order or anything. And Business Center is used for accessing and processing the workflows. Optionally, SAP Fiori task app to access and approve the workflows. So in the business foundation, you can do the approval process like how the VIM solution has. So that kind of approvals on the foundation level can be utilized in the SAP Fiori task app. And once we talk about Fiori, then it is directly can be done on the mobile devices of the desktop. Okay. And what are all the important transactions? These are the two important transactions. One is /OTX/PF00_IMG. The configuration document. Here you are going to configure all the steps, including the OCR integration and configuration of the OCR document. And the next one is OTX PF03_WP workplace. This is called Business Center Workplace. This is to monitor, manage all your incoming documents and check the status of all these documents. So these are the two important transactions. Previous sessions we had a glimpse of these transactions, but today we start deep diving into these transactions. Okay, this is just a standard slide how the Business Center Workplace looks like, single page to monitor all the incoming documents. And there is something called Work Center. That is in the view of VIM, what kind of data we are looking at the Work Center is called. You can check the status, re-trigger the erroneous records, check the extracted results, documents in detailed pane, history. Okay, so all these things can be done through the Business Center Workplace. Okay, now we had a quick introduction on the, detailed introduction on the Business Center. Now we are going to talk about the configuration and how all we are going to do. So what are all the high-level configuration steps which we are going to talk about? So after installation and post-installation activities, when basis completes all these activities and hand over the system to you, then these are all the steps you need to do for doing the configuration of the Business Center. One is called logical system creation. That's an optional step. If there are multiple SAP systems, then that is required. Then channels. The OpenText provides standard channels. You can reuse them, or unless you want to really create a new channel, you are free to create a new channel. Archive document setup. So once basis completes, there will be configuration for one or two steps by the basis on related to linking the archive center to your SAP system. When that is done, then your job starts from creation of the archive document, which we'll talk about that. And there are something called document handlers. Document handlers are the processes which tell the sequence of step how the document should flow. It's more like process types in the VIM solution. Here we call them as document handlers. And registration, so ingestion, each channel will have different ingestion mechanism and different configuration setting as step one. And from step 2, pretty much the rest of the processes will be handled by the document handlers. Okay. And coming on the right hand side, we see capture. Capture is nothing but the OCR solution which we are talking about. Here also we'll have configuration on IES. Again, we'll be dealing with basis or installation of these servers by different teams. Once they have completed that, there are few step basis we'll complete on enabling it's like post installation activities. We configure those. Once that is done, then we'll do the verify the IES configuration. Once that is done, we'll do few facilities provided by solution where we can add the validation client, how to do the feedback, what's the process foundation linkage, what's the data model, and workplace configuration. The important step, so archive document type configuration. What's an archive doc type? Archive doc type involves defining the rules and setting that govern how the specific documents such as vendor invoice should be archived. So if you translate this into real world, you can think of archive server as a big tub, and you created some splits between it like our buckets into that big tub, and each bucket is considered as an archive doc type. So this archive doc type basically says that this document is going to sit into and sit in that particular bucket. That's the basic functionality of an archive doc type. So in the archive doc type, you are going to drive the rest of the solution through this archive doc process on the business center framework. Okay, so that's why the archive doc type configuration is very important. So and why they are talking about legal and organizational requirements is basically there are a lot of countries which say, especially on the Europe, and their documents should be sitting in the servers available in the European countries only. During these scenarios, this archive doc type makes very sense. There are scenarios where we have created and linked multiple archive servers to 3 archive servers. We do basically meet their legal requirements. Okay, and there is no hard and fast rule that there should be only one archive server. You can have multiple archive servers as well. So it's the archive document type, which is directing which archive server and which bucket it has to sit. So that is also possible, just highlighting that point. And once the archive doc type is created, then you will be linking those archive document types to any accounts payable or any standard business object of SAP. So in SAP, every transaction relates back to a business object in SAP. And I hope everyone is familiar with the business object concept, which is a technical term. So we'll show that once we come to that slide as well. So business object, like SAP FI invoice, there will be, FI hosting, there will be one doc type. Purchase order, there will be a business object. So like that, every functionality, there is a different business object in SAP, and that is a standard one, so nobody can change that. And we are going to link this archive doc type to that particular business object, which we'll talk about. So configuring archive doc types. Now, once we create the archive doc type here, there are some functionalities you can control either in the SAP or in the archive server, such as retention parameters, deletion parameters. Such kind of functionalities can be taken care. There are multiple ways of dealing it. You can even do this in the SAP, or even you can do in the archive server. Archive server has its own front-end browser-based tool which you can control all these parameters and set these parameters as well. And now let's start with the defining archive doc types. When you are in the designing phase, now how do you decide how many archive doc types you want to create for your solution? It all depends on multiple parameters. Based on my experience, I'm giving you, and based on these parameters, you can decide. One is country legal obligation. That's your primary step. If there is no restriction from the customer perspective, you can go ahead and just create only one archive doc type. Now you can split the archive doc type based on the processes or ingestion mechanism. Processes means basically whether you want to create for PO separate archive doc types, for NPO separate archive doc types, and for down payments or advance payments, you want to create a separate archive doc type. I am just against this particular mechanism of this parameter, but a lot of organizations do this or consultants do this. The problem with this is basically when you assign archive doc type, you cannot change the archive doc type later. That's a problem. Assume that archive document has created as NP. Once it goes into the VIM solution and they go and change the doc type and VIM doc type to PO. Now you cannot come back and change the archive doc type of that particular invoice, right? So I am not advised this particular parameter, but yes, you can still go ahead. So process types is one thing. And now DP type is one thing. Now the process type or the ingestion type. So for email channel, you can have one archive doc type, and for scanning, you can have a different doc type, archive doc type. For iDocs and all, you can have iDocs. There will be no archive doc type. You can have a supporting archive doc type that is more like a late archiving. You can come back and attach an attachment, then it will go and sit into this particular archive doc type. So you can have a separate one thing. And based on my experience, I generally create only one because unless there is a legal requirement, because it doesn't matter where this archive doc type is. And there are some scenarios we have created to identify the channel or the flow of the path you want to deviate or have a different process, then you will create a different archive type. Okay. So that all these parameters will be helping in routing or the flow may be different, then you can create different archive types. Okay. The step one of archive doc type is configuring archive link protocol. There is a transaction called OAA3. Here, this everything will come standard. There is not much you need to do, but you just go and create the archive link protocol or check the parameters. So this archive link protocol is basically saying that what kind of documents your archive document type can accept. So if you can restrict only at the PDF, it will going to accept only PDF. If you're going to put star, then it is going to accept all the regular extension of files and everything. So that is there. And the next step is called content repository creation. This is either can be done by your basis team or you as a consultant, depends on organization to organization. When the archive server is set up ready, you come to a transaction called OAC0, and you have to provide all the information from your archive server into this transaction. This is going to be your primary point for connection between your archive server and SAP. If you want to check whether the archive server is up or down, you can just come here and check whether it is up or down, or you can just do the test run kind of thing here in this OAC0 transaction. Okay. Now, once the archive doc type got created, you need to link the archive doc type to the SAP business objects. Okay. So this is the all the business objects, and this can be done through OAC2. So here, these are all the four we generally do it. There is first and last are very important because these are the SAP business object names, and these two are optional. If you do it, otherwise you don't do it. What's the advantage of linking these objects here? Whenever you go to the GOS menu, you do right, see the attachments. Once the invoice is posted, now if you want to see the original invoice in the transaction FI03, then you should have linked this one here. If you want to see the transaction in Miro, the original invoice document, even though it is posted through VIM, the same document with the same archive ID will be applied to all these four business objects. So that's the reason we are trying to link all these business objects to here. And now we assign the archive document type to the workflow. Okay, so this is the workflow which is going to trigger the BC process. So check the workflow number. Sometimes the workflow number will be changing across the versions. I think this has been constant for some time, but when I am checking the training system, there is a different number. Looks like it is upgraded. I don't have the exact reference material to check for this particular training system reference document to check the workflow number. Okay, so we'll see this when we get into this. Now I came up with 4 or 5 steps, right? Instead of going to each transaction and maintaining each step, so OpenText has simply provided one transaction to do all these steps. It is called OAD5. So that's the archive doc type. So I know the team was eager on the archive doc type configuration. So through OAD5, you can sequentially complete all the above steps, and then because it's the same data done through multiple steps, you are going to do in only one transaction, and it's easier to maintain as well. So let's try to create one archive doc type. Archive doc type creation, you can do it through. So let's go step by step. Define content repositories. This is what we, or let's go to rule A. Here, there are no protocols in this system, but we will have different protocols. Please check in your system if there are any protocols for this. But I'm not able to create the post installation steps would have not completed properly, or as it's a demo system, will not have that. Here in OA3, you're not going to do anything specifically, but there will be something called facts or some parameter where you just go and see whether the star has been assigned or not. So that it just says that whether it's accepting all the files or you want to restrict to only PDFs. So this parameter will be helpful in some scenarios where there's some clients say others are unloading all kinds of supporting documents, and they will say, no, I want to only restrict the PDF type so that they don't dump all the documents into the solution. So that's the reason we can have common restrict there. Okay. Second step is content repository. In this system, I think it is ST. Your SAP basis has to provide. The important thing you need to look into this is called document area archive link. Storage type, SAP system database, I don't know where it's going, but it will be, if you are actually linking to some archive server, then it is HTTP content server, and then you will have different parameters here. And if you can go to full administration, there will be one button to check as well, so you can check that because it's a SAP system database, so it's not showing all the parameters. So you can check in your system. So that's on the content repository. So basis will generally do this, nothing from a consultant perspective. There may be one SM59 as well if needed. Okay. The only important thing you need to look at this is archiving. Any questions on the content repository? So here it will be the protocol. Let me see if I can. That's not it. Okay. And next would be creation of the document classes is one thing. Here, these are all the definition of a document type in the SAP system. This is a standard transaction, but it just the link is given here. The transaction is, I cannot recollect. But if you want to create your own or document class, you can do it. So your PDF will be there, your XML will be there, XLX, and all this. These are all the class. We call it as document classes. Nothing but your extension types in the regular SAP system. And this is where you are going to create your archive doc type. Okay. There will be some archive doc types. So this archive doc type is a cross-functionality solution. It's only not related to Vim, but other functionalities will also use. So there may be other things. And once you create, you should be generally able to see your document type here at the bottom. If you are trying to create through OAD5, but if you can also come and create as a new entry and do step by step as well here. Edit link. I don't think this is for something else. This is the linking between your archive doc type to your business object. Okay, content repository as well. So you are telling this is the object type. So let this one take. This is the SAP business object, and this is the archive doc type, and we are telling that it is going to sit in the content repository ST. And this is a table name TOA01. So when we are creating OAD5, you can select any of these 4 tables, link tables, to generate all your documents into system. So if you go to this table, you will see the archive. Whenever a document is archived, then it will be sitting in this table. So if you want to find the, this is the archive doc ID. Yeah. So We may need the help of this one only if the document archiving is not happening, then only we'll come and look into this transaction and everything. Okay. So that is here. Both are one and the same. So I'm using OAD5 to create the archive doc type. Okay, and you get a customizing wizard. So with this wizard, you will be able to easily create the archive doc type. Give the new archive doc type name. So I'm going to create demo02 and pattern doc type. Pattern document type is basically a reference. The previous one, if you are already created and now you want to use the same parameters, then you use the pattern doc type. Otherwise, you are doing for the first time, ignore this pattern doc type. Now, workflow document type, yes, it's a workflow based document type. You need to click this checkbox. That's mandatory. Otherwise, you won't be able to assign the workflow number to that. Document class, this is what we have been talking about, whether you want to, whatever the classes we saw, we'll be seeing here. But SAP recommends to use the facts as the document class. You can use that. So it will kind of accept the TIFF files and the PDFs as well in the document class. Okay, and object method and tasks. So this is your SAP business object you need to provide. Okay, so you need to provide the SAP business object. You need to provide the methods and the workflow numbers as well. So here it will be the workflow numbers. The only difference I see here and there is basically this used to be the number 37300. Now this is in our version 23 point something, so it should be. Please check your reference document number for that. It may be so 255 or 269 or 25271. Okay. I think it may be 269 the newer version. I don't know. I'm now seeing this new numbers. Okay. So check the reference document number they give you, or configuration document they clearly give you which one to use. And assignment, you just use the same document number here, 25275 And workflow parameter, based on the these things, this will automatically come. So it doesn't really need to worry about this. These are all the input parameters for that particular method and objects. So don't touch or don't change anything here. You just utilize the same thing. Now we have to give it the content repository ID, which is HT in this particular system. And you can use any of these tables. Generally, I go with the OA01. And this is the retention parameter like how many months the archive document should be available in the system. Like you give like 24 months. Once there are some jobs should run. If those jobs are running, then the document or the linkage between these two systems will be removed automatically based on this parameter. That would be your based on your customer requirements. You can utilize that parameter. The same will be linked to your OAWD. If you want to utilize your OAWD as putting the documents, I generally create this OAWD setting because it's easier for testing unless all the channels are copied. Till then, you can utilize. I'm setting as OAWD incoming invoices presetting here. Okay, and then you will just click everything. Then it will complete, and your archive document type got created successfully. Let's go and verify those transactions again to see whether your new archive document got created properly or not. See, jet demo02 got created with the document class as facts, and then edit links. Jet demo02 should be ours. So our got created. So this OAD505 step needs to be repeated for the same archive doc type, depending on how many times you want to link this. We said we are going to link it to 4 things, right? Now I have only linked to the first one. Now we want to link, you need to run the OAD5 for all these 3 parameters, for all the same 3 things with the same parameters and everything, except the business object type as a different one. Okay, these 4 are mandatory. Okay, so let me do once again for the business framework as well. So I'm giving you again the same thing, get demo 02. My archive doc type is not changing here. Please observe this. Now I'm giving the pattern doc type because I already created gdemo02. Let's utilize that. So pretty much all your parameters will, if you see workflow doc time got checked because it is coming the parameter from there. Now I'm changing the business object from this one to ODX PF010R and click and change the method and continue content repository ID as st TOA01 and I'm invoices. I think we have to check this checkbox for subsequent, otherwise it works too. Okay. So if you do this, then another entry would have got created in this same transaction in the linkage. Okay, obviously, like this, you have to create all the 4. And if you have multiple archive diag types, you are going to repeat the same task for assume that you are wanted to create 4 or 5 archive doc types, then 5 into 4. So 20 times you have to do this activity. Once this archive doc type is created, now what we have done through the archive doc type, we have created a this thing in the archive server that this is the location the document is going to sit. This is my linkage between the business objects and everything in the SAP system, and I have linked a workflow as well here. Now, if I go here, I'll just show you the one with the transaction for business object to just show you those business objects /OPT /V1001. So if I do display, so this you can see this is a OpenText parameter, and there will be some methods, interfaces, and key fields. This is a technical thing I'm just showing you here. On the same lines, you should be able to /OT XPF0 off. This is entry interface registration object. Now, if you want to see for KPL, this is the SAP FI document, accounting document, any accounting document. And if I see the 4th one, bus 2081. So this is the. So if I do F4, you will be able to see all the business objects in your SAP system. There will be a lot many business objects. There are around 3,347. You can search for any parameter like the order. So for each different business entity, there will be different this thing. Okay. So service order, purchase order, release order. So there will be different numbers. This number will be standard, and the same numbers. These 4 numbers are related to our VIM solution, and we are looking. Okay. Now we have completed the archive doc type configuration. We'll go to the presentation now. So it's completed. We will jump onto the channels configuration. As we talked about, in the channels, we'll have standard provided by the VIM solution. We pretty much try to reuse unless you have a different channel you want to set up. So the channel path is in the IMG. In this, all your BC configuration will be in this inbound configuration setting. Okay, from the VIM perspective, there will be some in the general settings we want to do. You can do that, but generally this is the only node we'll be dealing with respect to VIM related activities. Now you see this is the basic settings. These are all basic parameters. If you can search the reference document or the configuration guide, you can see, unless you want to see any specific requirements, then you may come up with this basic settings, like you can create new entries here and all those things. The important ones are like retry counter validation. This is one parameter which say, assume that your validation client is down, or how many times it should retry sending it to validation client or like that. So such kind of parameters are maintained here. So the number is here, like how many times you want to try for the BC to send the try connecting to the IES server. If assume that IES server is down, then it will try for 3 or 4 times, then it will put the error record there. So such kind of parameters can be controlled through this scripting. We generally don't change unless you want to specifically change any particular this thing, any business specific requirements. Otherwise, we generally come and look into that. We retry counter extraction, counter validation, recover counter extraction is it is trying to how many times it has to. There is also retry and auto forward for timeout in document handler, like how much time it is, timeout settings and all those things. Delay for extraction. I mean, before sending to IES, you want to set up like so only send it to IES after 5 minutes or something like that. So such kind of parameters you can be controlled here. So the detail you can check in the configuration here. And now we are coming to channels. These are all the standard channels provided by OpenText itself. You can utilize all these things, or you can create your own new channel. Generally, you create new channels when you are trying to do interfacing with any other internal system or a third party, which is not generic interface. Then you end up creating here. And the important setting here is the registration time. So this is very, very important because whether you are doing early archiving or IDOC or mail or upload pipeline is basically your enterprise scan and custom others. So these are all the 4 primary different types of archiving mechanisms will be there. So early archiving, first the document is archived and then the system process will start. So for our standard email, then it will be the email. For email, you will be using the mail_IES channel. For OAWD, you will be utilizing OAWD, early archiving, scanning plus manual channel. And scan IES is for your scanning solution. And VIM IES for any other, you can use for any other requirements as well. I generally use VIM_IES or mail_IES. Both are one and the same. It's just the channel name. Okay. This will be helpful in your reporting purpose. Okay. Now, once the channel is completed, there is something called scenario classification. This may be relevant if you're talking in terms of foundation. Okay. So if you see here, these are all the profiles VIM has provided for different scenarios. For VIM, this would be our PS03 VIM_INC. I'm just trying to understand. There is something called scenario classification, and this is the one we are going to use. We are not going to change this. But if you are wanted to do the business foundation and try to explore other different types, then you will be utilizing different remittance advisors, order confirmation, incoming quotation, incoming delivery notes. We can use different things. But for us, we'll be using PS03_INC. And this would be the VIM archive doc type here. Okay, which is says that as here. It doesn't need to come and assign anything here, but it will. And now your document handler comes into the picture. So these are all the document handler or the steps involved in all your statuses you see in the business process. So let me open Business Center Workplace as well. So to primarily look, we'll be going and looking at the inbound administration. When we go here, you'll be seeing all the reg IDs which got created. And here you'll be able to see the reg ID. Here also you'll be seeing your channel, your handler, your classification profile. So whatever the configuration we are trying to do, and all your statuses, right? All the statuses what I've just showed you are configured in that section. And other parameters is your archive doc type, target project that is that. Okay. So, and here on the same lines on the VIM solution, you will be able to see their document history, the log. If there any error logs or maintenance, then this will get triggered. and the external data. External data is nothing but the extracted data. Right now, till we don't have an active IES yet. So we'll see this information once it passes to the extraction step. Okay. So these are all the statuses which we are going to configure. Now we go into the modules. So module is a high-level parameter which tells what are all the flow steps involved in your BC framework for that particular path. Okay. So here, if you talk generally with PH03 underscore IES and we see the modules, these are all the module IDs which got as a part of your standard solution. Now, if you take a step back and see what is the primary objective of Business Center, to ingest the documents and push it to the VIM solution with the additional steps of extraction of the data and validation of that data. These are the 4-5 important functionalities we are expecting from the BC, right? So first thing is, assume that for any of the ingestion like email or scanning or any of this thing, the first ingestion is different for each channel, and the rest of the steps will be the same, like archiving the data and sending to the IES, receiving the document from IES, collecting the extracted information and sending it to the validation client, get a confirmation from the validation client, and then after the confirmation, send it to the VIM solution. So these are the primary steps, right? So each module handler is going to deal with these multiple steps only. So PS03 IES, let's talk about this one. And there will be different multiple handlers for each kind of scenario. PS03 IES, that is one thing. For XML, you will have different thing. For IDOC, you have different this thing. Okay. Ariba, you have different this thing. Okay. So, and for specific XML, EDOC, these are all related to specific country like Italy, where XML document would be your primary source of information. You'll be using this one, okay? EDOC and IDOCs, XML, okay? And this is a generic one which you can use. For Mexico, you have different this thing, okay? Now let's look into. Primarily, we'll be using IDOC, Ariba, PS03 IDOC and everything. So, sorry, PS03 underscore IES. You can use
So module will be defining the sequence in
yes, sequence of steps. Now, if you do, what is the first step they are talking about? Image archiving. So your step, these are all standard which come as a part of the installation. If you are changing anything, copy this, create your own module, and you can use this. If you're not changing anything, you can just reuse existing ones. This is the module class. The functionality behind written here. First thing is image archiving, sending it to the archive server, and image linking. Or once your archive server returns back the archive ID, you generate an entry in the TOA01 table and also create the reg ID, registration ID in the BC framework. If you see the other transaction, this registration number is generated through that particular class method. And the next one is register in Vim. Create a reg ID in Vim solution as well. Sorry, target key or the DP number. Once that is done, the link between this thing will happen, and then it will be sent for extraction. Extraction is basically IES server. Once the IES configured, so it will be sending it to that. Okay. And once they are sent for extraction, the IES will take time for extraction. This is not like a taking a picture and coming, right? It is trying to extract information on the top of the document and translating. So it takes time. So it will be waiting the extraction result. This step will wait for the extraction result. When the response comes back from IES, then it will proceed with the next steps. Once this step is completed, it will send to the validation client. Again, here it is a user-based input waiting. So it can be a minute or a hour or a day or few days. So it will keep waiting for the validation client to be confirmed through the solution, and then this functionality. Once this is done, then it will close the process in the BC and tries to push into the Vim solution. So these are all the active steps you can put active on module classes. And again, These are all the important statuses which will be, this is the standard. So we can, let's try to understand. So this is the end stat and start stat. Okay. So sometimes like in this scenario, so 70, 72. So it just started sending for this. This is sending request to the IES, right? So 70 will be when it is trying to send. Once the 70 it is sent, then it will move to 72. Okay. Once then this is the start status for the next one, which is waiting. So it will keep waiting on 72 status. Once the document is received, then it will move into the 73 status. Okay. Once 73 means it is actually received the response. Now it is trying to send it to the validation client, and then it will go into the 74 after send to validation client. So same line 75, 76, everything completed, it will reach 100. Okay. Now if you see this error status, this is a generic error status 97. If any of the steps fail, it will automatically move into the 97 status. Assume that IES is not there, validation client it didn't receive any response back. All this kind of these things, it will wait and it will automatically push into the error status 97. The advantage of 97 is basically you can restart the process in the inbound process. So you can just go into the error mode and select those, and you can change the status back to a particular status. And then if you are trying to ask to start the whole process from that particular step of the module system. Okay. And there are some time limits you can put up, this one is how much time it has to wait for the validation client. I think this is too less, but we generally don't put any value here, or you can create anything. And this is number of retries. Okay. Assume that this standard validation client which is trying to send, and there is a validation client not available, or the IES is not available, it will try for 3 times, and then it will get into error. So here that 3600, so it waiting for 3600 and it is sending back to the status of 74. This process keep repeating continuously by your IDF system, so that it knows that validation client somebody has responded. Okay, because the validation client is user based, right? So it cannot, and it's a Windows based tool, so they have done some technical setup to do this thing with auto forward after retry. So that settings don't change, otherwise it won't work. You just keep these as is. You can play around with the status numbers and everything, but you just keep that time limit and time mode and this auto forward after retry. Let's take up another handler, which is Ariba, and then see. So here we have very less modules because Ariba is a generally XML-based solution. So, and the BC, it won't even create a record. It will directly create the registration in the VIM DP number and image. If available, it will try to archive and link, and then it will directly register the processing back in Ariba that a VIM document got created successfully. There are only few steps in Ariba modular. You can just reutilize it. Once you integrate with Ariba, the chances of errors are very less, but because there are only 1 or 2 steps and the data is handled manually in the VIM solution. If you go to IDOC, it will also see on the same lines, image linking if it is available, because IDOC is also kind of XML-based structure, but EDI format. And mapping, once the data comes in the IDOC, then you need to map the docking IDOC data into your VIM solution. Once that is done, then it will stop the processing of the BC. So this is how the IDOC solution handler works. So somebody just created this line_IES, so we can do that. So explore other modelers and try to understand. Just take the Italy one once just for reference. Here, the string VIM attach user-friendly format. This is specific to Italy. Get and update content, passing XML. The XML has to translate it back into the VIM solution. Archive documents, linking the documents, and registering the end the process and complete the process in the BC framework. Okay. This is a different thing. What are you going to do with the PDF? So PDF is, see, PDF is for more readable format. XML is not readable format for the user eyes. If the intention is that, yes, you can do that. There is some standard functionality for that, which will be done on the Vim side. I'm assuming. I don't know where it does. I never done that. Basically, your data is extracted from the XML only and extracted into that, but a PDF is also getting generated. That functionality is available, but I never used. I know that that functionality is available, but I never used it. If you can look into the configuration guide or that, there is one step you need to add, and then that will kind of create the PDF for you based on the data from. It will be creating from the Vim DP document, not from the XML exactly. XML is translated into the Vim DP screens. From the DP screens, it will generate a PDF. Now here, if you want to add more steps in between, you are free to add. We have done multiple different scenarios where we went and added a sequence steps in between to meet customer requirements and all those things, like you informing someone, sending an email, all different kind of things. If you want to do, you can do it here in this add a step and then do that. Okay, so that's about modules, and now we get into registration. Going back to the slides, so this is the modules which we talked about, and we also talked about the module handler. And now we'll talk into the registrations. Okay, so now we talked about statuses, modules, everything. Now the registration. Now in the modules we talked about, say, the steps 2 to 10. I'm just taking an example that we have 7 or 8 steps. So 2 to 8 steps we have done. Now the step 1, actual ingestion of the document, happens differently for different things. Okay. So we'll go one by one. Early archiving is the standard functionality of doing it through the OAWD. So we do it here. We have to assign the archive doc type, the channel, the handler, and the classification profile. So for our VIM invoice, PS03 VIM IN, we see the standard classification profile, and so this is the channel OAWD PS03_IS. You need to configure it here. Okay. So once you configure them, the overall flow will start working. And for incoming email, so incoming email, there are 2 steps in the, 2 pieces of things you need to do. So generic email ID. This is not done by us or any of the team. You reach out to Outlook team and ask them to create a generic email ID, right? Something like incoming invoices at customer.com or something like that, right? So once that is done, then you ask your basis team to do a couple of steps before coming here and doing this. Okay, so that is through a transaction called SCGoTo. This is done by your basis team. So if you have access, you are free to do it. If you don't have access, you are ask your basis team to do it. Okay, here if you go here, then you ask in this inbound processing, ask your basis team to create this particular entry here. So one is internet email, your generic email ID which got created by your Outlook team. You need to add general mail ID at demo.com. Okay, whatever it is, and then you put the doc type as star because you are trying to accept all kind of attachments at this particular time. And then this exit name. This is the standard class you need to provide in this /OTS 0 CL register mail. So then only this will push into the BC framework. Okay, this class name is provided in your configuration document. You can get it there, or you can just memorize it for in the long term. Okay, and this is the call sequence. Right? If you have multiple email IDs created for different scenarios, not only Vim, there may be other email IDs created for other scenarios. So all this will be configured here, and your sequence will help in pulling that information from the Outlook server. Okay. Once this is done, then you come back again to here. Now, whatever the email ID you give there, so the previous step is that does getting the information from your Outlook into your SAP system, and you are giving that information to the BC framework. Now, what BC framework does is, based on the email address, you are going to classify, assign the archive doc type and all those things in this particular section. One is you are sending, so if there are two email IDs, right? A demo01 email ID and demo02 email ID. So for that, you can have a email_IES as your channel. Channel is the basic thing we saw, right? Again, I'll open that in a separate session so that each and every parameter is very, very important in this configuration. And even if you do a simple channel. So this channel, a mail_IES, and here you are telling us registration type as mail. Okay, so that has to be provided, and you have to provide the handler. I'll put side to side. I hope everyone able to easily see this screens. Handler or document handler, PES03_IES here is our document handler. Here we have the sequence of steps how it is going to follow. Once the email comes in, it will try to understand this is my handler and these are the steps I need to follow. On the classification profile, it is PS03 my NVC. This is standard for all the incoming invoices from the invoice perspective. And this is the archive doc type. Okay, we need to provide the archive doc type here. And this is a document type attachment. You can give the same thing. And this is for the mail body. And this is for the attachments. So, I mean, this is basically for different formats where you want to store this information. You just give the same archive doc ID across, and you give this pre-exit and past exit. These are the standard things you have to provide as per your configuration guide. So this is how you do a email configuration. So once the email configuration is done, so a vendor or a user sends an email to this particular email ID to an Outlook server, and it will be sitting in the Outlook server. The SCOT spot settings is trying to pull that email from that Outlook server into your SAP system, and there is a class in the spot setting which is pushing that from your basis to your business center. Your business center, these parameters will guide the flow of the document and where it has to sit in the archive server. So once it is there, then it will flow, take all this path of doing this thing. Okay. So this is what email address, incoming email channel configuration is done. So pipeline is for enterprise scan. So there will be a channel ID, the same type, archive doc type, handler, classification profile. Here, this archive doc type is directly integrated into the enterprise scan profile settings. So from there, it will automatically, through the pipeline, will come and take this framework. Okay, this is the registration for the email. And for IDOC, this is a different kind of registration. So you're trying to type the IDOC type, okay, and the channel, and the handler, and the classification profile. This is for our invoice, and this is for a different foundation framework solution. So in this IDOC mapping, there will be all the field-to-field mappings provided here. What is the segment? What is the external field name? I mean the BC reg ID field name. All this will be here. So whenever we do, we don't touch these things. It's just only for your information. I'm just trying to show for any root cause analysis or something, the data is not coming in that scenarios, you utilize this. I mean, easy for translation and everything. Earlier archiving, we talked about this. This is the archive doc type. This is our channel, handler, and classification profile. Okay. Custom others. So this I never got a chance to utilize, but it's like there are any other custom things that you have to come here to this. And baddie registration service. This is the standard baddie. If you want to do any custom functionalities or enhance your solution, you are free to do it in this baddie. So they have provided a couple of methods. past register and pre-register, you want to write additional logics, you can ask your technical team to write additional logics. So early archiving, OAWD, we have seen this, configuring the scanning solution. We talked about this. So this is the enterprise scan button. We don't have in the demo system. I'm just putting some screenshots of the enterprise scan will be there. And this is of the enterprise scan, like on the desktop, you'll have this button. It will be installed on the scanner rooms or everywhere, like any regular software. And when they open this enterprise scan, they will pop up this one. And there is something called profile here. If you see this button, right, this is where you configure the your archive doc type and your scanner. So the physical scanner details and the pipeline details will be configured in this profile. Once this profile is configured, then it will automatically seamlessly work. Like once you put all these documents into your scanner and then click on the scan button, then it will start scanning all these documents like this, and then it will push into the SAP VIM solution. So there is something called so this is how the profile manager will be there. So when you click on the profile, then it will be showing the input and output and the archiving. So these things you have to as I don't have this solution, I'm unable to show the demo, but it's pretty easy to configure that. Okay. Now the other important.
I guess we have enterprise scan in our system.
Is it? Okay.
Yes, it's installed.
So input, so let's come back. So this is the enterprise scan. It will be installed on each scanning solution. You go profile. So we create one profile by the IT team, and you can just replicate the same thing across. And you have to deploy that or recreate that profile in each scanning team solution. Okay. Once you click on the profile, you can create the input parameters. I can say scanner. So, and then this is a customizing wizard kind of this thing. It will ask you where you want to do all these things. So, file import. So it will be like you can have to configure file inputs configure, and this is where you provide the scanner details route directly for scanning. So this one is select the directory. So this is one step back. The file input is if all the file locations are kept at any general server location, then it will be using this particular setting to full path or a central like your Microsoft SharePoint, then you can select that particular path to take all the files from there. Okay, and you can see once delete the scan file, delete empty subdirectories, so you can take all the files, image files or only image and files or all the files. So this thing you have to do. And external storage is this one is your scanner. So once the scanner is there available on the network, then it will show up here. Then you press click. Okay, then the printer will be available here for the printer to be configured. And even in the printer, so the printers, those are all again should be recommended by OpenText. There is some protocol. I'll just show you that. So what all the printers are supported by OpenText. So there is one specific set of protocols which should be ISIS or IXIX. So IXOS is some protocol or some keyword which is used to identify whether that scanner is supported by OpenText. So these are all the brands they support and their models. If you click X, their models are provided. So they have to buy these specific scanners only for the enterprise scan support. If it is a different server, there is nothing like they won't support, but on paper they won't be able to support. So these things you should be certified OS or something like that. Now, if you don't want to utilize, it all depends on the volume, on how many invoices you are going to scan and all those things. So if that scanner is available, then come here. Once the input is done, then the processing. So here the sub profiles. So here generally we don't create, but if you want to customize, there are a lot of other features here. This is not a basic, like if you want to have a barcode recognition, now you can have this barcode recognition here as a flow. And there are a lot of things in this you can even do. But if you want to add a additional field also, you can do at this level. So all these things you can do here: document processing, remove blank pages, scripting extensions. You can even do scripting. I'm not an expert in the scripting at all, so I never done. But in the documentation of the enterprise scan, you can see that scripting, how to do scripting and all those things. I tried once, but it took a lot of time to resolve that. So I generally don't recommend any custom fields or anything at this point of time. But yeah, because that's not our general skill set. But if you're free, to explore that. So you can have this and archive. So this is the final step of pushing that into the pipeline. So here you have to provide indexing, pre-archive indexing. Okay. You have to provide the details of the SAP application server, on which server you are going to provide, and if you have to do the username and password. So that sign-in has to be required. Once that sign-in is completed, then you will be able to archive the document. So here, document pipeline for SAP, this one we have replaced. This only works once the SAP access is created, then only it will work. Once this is done, your profile is pretty much complete. And then you will be able to, the scan button will be available, and then you will be able to scan the document.
Okay. The handler and those details are same, so it goes in a sequence.
Yeah. So for the pipeline, your module handler is pipeline. Okay, I think let's go to the module pipeline. It will have similar scan, link, and all. Generally, we use this one only, PH03IES. Across all, whatever the extraction and validation are required, we generally use this module only. So this is the same slides which we talked about the spot setting, the provide a corresponding exit class. And this is a constant table parameter. If you maintain this, then it will be available. All the data will be available in the SAP Connect or Workbox. I never tried this. If you want, you can try it out. And this is the settings even before the spot settings. There is this is a SMTP or SMICM transaction. This is done by Basis. So Basis will configure this during the first time implementation of the SAP system. Whenever you send emails from your system across, right, this setup has to be there. Otherwise, SAP will not be able to send the services. So the port servers, all this is done by Basis, and incoming email. So that is done. Then we come here and do the registration of the email. We talked about this. You give the email ID, channel, handler, classification, and the doc type. And this is the IDOC configuration we just showed you. So everything is pre-configured from this, but this is just trying to show you the how the IDOC will be there, what's the segment. I'm assuming you are all aware of the IDOC segments and everything. So that configuration is pre-configured. In the partner profiles, you have to create a new partner profile and do that. And this is the scanning which we talked about. So the same slides and everything.